All right, let's get ready for a deep dive. And today we're talking about something most of us can't live without. Coffee.
Yeah,
We all have our coffee routines,
absolutely.
but honestly, the headlines about coffee and the health impacts of coffee are
Yeah, they're all over the place.
super confusing, right?
It's either a miracle cure or it's going to kill you.
Exactly. So that's what this deep dive is all about.
Yeah.
Let's get some clarity and really sift through the facts about the benefits and the downsides of coffee.
Yeah. And, we don't want to make anybody into a coffee fanatic
Wait.
or make you afraid to drink it.
Yeah.
We just want to give you the knowledge to make smart choices about your own coffee habits.
I love that knowledge is power,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to something we consume every day.
Right.
So let's start with the obvious caffeine.
Yeah.
Why does that first cup feel like such a brain boost?
You know that groggy feeling you get when you wake up? That's partly due to adenosine. It's a chemical in your brain that builds up while you sleep and makes you feel tired. And caffeine blocks adenosine,
Oh,
so you feel more alert.
so it's like an off switch for sleepiness.
Pretty much.
Interesting.
But it's not just about feeling awake. Studies show moderate coffee intake can actually improve cognitive function.
Okay, so what does that mean?
Well, things like memory, attention processing speed, the mental tools we use all day long.
So coffee can actually make you think better. I'm listening.
There's some evidence that coffee drinkers might have a slight edge
Really?
in situations requiring mental sharpness, and some research even suggests it might protect against cognitive decline
Oh, wow.
as we age.
Hold on. Are you saying coffee could be a brain booster for the long haul?
It's an area of active research, but some studies show coffee drinkers have a lower risk of developing conditions like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I was expecting to hear about downsides, but this is making coffee sound like a health hero.
Now, hold on.
Okay.
Coffee isn't a cure-all. And like any substance, there are potential downsides to consider too, especially with overconsumption.
Okay, so let's have it. What's the catch? We know too much caffeine can make you jittery, but are there other hidden downsides?
Well, yeah, that jittery feeling is your body reacting to caffeine's stimulating effects. Too much can also lead to anxiety, insomnia,
Wow.
and even heart palpitations in some people.
So moderation is key, right?
Absolutely.
But even if I don't get the jitters, could there be other less obvious effects from drinking a lot of coffee?
Well, there are some long-term considerations.
Yeah.
You can develop a dependence on caffeine, leading to withdrawal symptoms if you cut back abruptly.
Oh, so that's why people get those caffeine withdrawal headaches.
Exactly.
Like your body gets used to that regular dose.
Yeah, and even if you can fall asleep easily after that afternoon coffee, some studies suggest heavy coffee consumption might interfere with deep sleep,
Oh.
which is crucial for physical and mental recovery.
So it's not just about avoiding the jitters. It's about making sure coffee doesn't mess with our sleep cycles in the long run.
Precisely. And here's another interesting fact. Coffee can affect nutrient absorption,
Oh, really?
particularly iron.
Wait, seriously, I thought coffee was just a drink, not something that impacts nutrition.
It's true. Coffee isn't a source of vitamins and minerals,
Okay.
but it contains compounds that can bind to iron in your gut, making it harder for your body to absorb.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. It sounds like there's a lot more to coffee than just the caffeine kick.
Yeah, there's a whole world of complexity within that cup of joe.
There really is.
And speaking of complex, maybe we should unpack some of the terms we've been using.
You're right. We've covered a lot of ground, and I bet some of the scientific terms could use a bit more explanation. What do you think about a quick vocab rundown?
Sounds like a plan. Let's make sure everyone's on the same page before we dive deeper into the nuances of coffee consumption.
Perfect. Let's demystify some of these coffee concepts together.
All right, let's break down some of those coffee-related terms we've been tossing around.
Yeah.
First up, alertness.
Okay, yeah, because who doesn't love that feeling of being awake and focused?
Right.
I mean, it's why we reach for that coffee in the first place.
Exactly. Alertness is that state of being mentally sharp, ready to engage with the world, and caffeine helps us achieve that by blocking adenosine,
Oh, adenosine, our friend.
the sleepiness molecule.
The villain in our morning brain drug.
You could say that as adenosine builds up in our brains while we sleep,
Okay.
it makes us feel groggy. Caffeine steps in as the hero,
Yeah.
blocking adenosine and allowing us to feel more awake and alert.
So caffeine is the superhero that rescues us from the clutches of adenosine.
Right.
What about cognitive function? That sounds pretty important.
It refers to all those amazing things our brains do.
Yeah.
Thinking, remembering, learning, problem solving.
Okay.
And as we discussed, Studies show coffee can actually enhance these mental processes.
So coffee not only wakes us up, it can potentially help us think more clearly and efficiently.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Now, onto those cellular superheroes we mentioned earlier. Antioxidants.
Right. Antioxidants are like tiny warriors, protecting our cells from damage caused by free radicals.
Okay.
Think of free radicals as unstable molecules that can wreak havoc on our cells, contributing to aging and various diseases.
So it's like a microscopic battle happening inside us, and antioxidants are on our side.
Exactly. And coffee is a good source of these powerful antioxidants, which is another point in its favor when it comes to potential health benefits.
So antioxidants, good guys. Free radicals, not so good. Now, what about heart palpitations?
Right.
That sounds a little scary.
Heart palpitations are basically those moments when you feel your heart beating rapidly or irregularly.
Okay.
It can be unsettling, and for some people, it can be a sign of caffeine sensitivity.
So you notice your heart doing a little dance after that second cup.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a sign to ease up on the caffeine.
Exactly. It's your body's way of telling you it's had enough.
And speaking of having enough, let's talk about restlessness.
Okay. Restlessness is that feeling of being fidgety and unable to relax, like your mind and body are both on high alert.
Precisely. And while a bit of alertness is good, excessive restlessness can be a sign of too much caffeine.
Right.
It can also make it harder to fall asleep and get a good night's rest.
So being mindful of how much coffee we consume and when we consume it can really make a difference in how we feel both physically and mentally.
Yeah.
Okay, now on to a term that many coffee lovers might be familiar with, acid reflux.
Yeah. Acid reflux is that unpleasant burning sensation you get when stomach acid flows back up into your esophagus.
Okay.
It can be triggered by certain foods and drinks, and unfortunately, coffee is a common culprit.
So that explains why some people experience heartburn after drinking coffee.
Exactly. And if you're prone to acid reflux, it's worth paying attention to how your body responds to coffee.
Got it. Okay, let's wrap up our vocabulary rundown with a word we've mentioned a few times already. Moderation. Moderation is all about finding that sweet spot where you can enjoy something without overdoing it.
Right.
When it comes to coffee, it means being mindful of your intake and listening to your body's cues.
So it's not about depriving ourselves of coffee entirely, but rather about enjoying it in a way that supports our overall well-being.
Exactly. And lastly, for those with sensitive stomachs, there's low-acid coffee.
What is low-acid coffee exactly?
It's coffee that's been processed to reduce its acidity, making it gentler on the stomach.
Interesting.
So if you love coffee but find it upsets your digestion, low-acid coffee could be a game changer.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
I think we've successfully demystified some key coffee concepts now that we're all on the same page. Where do we go from here?
Well, now that we understand the science and the terminology, we can dive into the practical side of things. How can we incorporate this knowledge into our daily lives and make informed decisions about our coffee habits?
That's a great question, and it's one we'll be exploring in the final part of our deep dive. We'll be right back after a quick moment to delve into some practical tips and strategies for making coffee your ally, not your adversary. Okay, we're back and ready to turn all this coffee knowledge into action.
Right.
We've explored the science, the potential benefits, the downsides. Now, how do we make sure we're getting the most out of our coffee without any negative side effects?
Well, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you can enjoy the ritual and the boost without overdoing it.
So where do we start? Should we be like counting every drop of coffee?
It doesn't have to be that rigid.
Okay.
The first step is simply paying attention to your body. Are you feeling extra jittery? Anxious after a cup, having trouble sleeping, even if you avoid coffee in the evening?
So it's about recognizing those individual responses to caffeine.
Right.
What if you are sensitive to caffeine? Do you have to give up coffee altogether?
Not necessarily. You can try switching to decaf.
Decaf.
It still has that familiar coffee taste, but with much less caffeine.
I always thought decaf was a bit of a compromise, but maybe it's a good option for some people.
It can be. It allows you to enjoy the ritual and the social aspect of coffee without the intense caffeine hit.
Okay, so paying attention to your individual response and considering decaf are good starting points.
Right.
What about the timing of our coffee intake? Any insights there?
Yeah, timing is key. Our bodies naturally produce cortisol, a hormone that makes us feel alert and energized, especially in the morning.
So if we drink coffee first thing in the morning, are we like doubling down on that alertness?
Exactly. It can be like hitting the gas pedal when your engine's already revving,
Okay.
but make you feel extra jittery and could even interfere with your natural cortisol rhythm
That's interesting.
in the long run.
So what's the best time to have that first cup?
Many experts recommend waiting an hour or two after waking up before that first coffee.
Okay.
Let your natural cortisol levels do their thing, then enjoy your coffee
Yeah.
as they start to taper off.
Okay, I can definitely see the logic in that. What about how we drink our coffee? Does that matter?
Absolutely remember how coffee can increase stomach acidity.
Yeah.
Drinking it on an empty stomach can be a recipe for heartburn or indigestion.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced that myself, so it's better to have coffee with or after a meal.
Exactly. The food helps buffer the acid and protect your stomach lining.
Okay, good to know.
It's also a good idea to be mindful of what you add to your coffee.
Ah, yes, those sugary syrups and whipped cream toppings. Delicious, but not exactly healthy.
Right. Those fancy coffee concoctions can be loaded with sugar and calories, turning a potentially healthy drink into a dessert in disguise.
Yeah, it's easy to forget how quickly those extras add up, so maybe sticking to simpler preparations is a good way to keep things healthy.
Definitely try using a splash of milk or a natural sweetener like stevia or honey if you need a little sweetness.
Okay.
And remember, portion size matters too.
So it's all about balance, right?
Right.
Enjoying coffee in a way that fits into a healthy lifestyle.
Exactly. Listen to your body, experiment, and find what works best for you. Your coffee needs might even change depending on your stress levels, sleep quality, or how much iron you're getting in your diet.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. I feel like I've gone from coffee novice to coffee connoisseur in just a few minutes.
I'm glad to hear it. It's amazing how much there is to learn about even the most familiar things in our lives.
Absolutely. We've explored the science, the benefits, the downsides, even some practical tips for making coffee work for us, not against us.
And I hope this deep dive empowers you to enjoy your coffee in a way that supports both your health and your taste buds.
I love that. Well said. And remember, as with most things in life, moderation and a little bit of awareness go a long way.
Cheers to that. Until next time, enjoy your coffee responsibly.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of coffee. We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic.